Samoa, no chance. Now look, no one rode the Samoan bandwagon quite like I did last year during the World Cup. I tipped them to make the final, then I backflipped when they got pumped by England. Then, when they did make the final, I jumped back on the bandwagon. So I would honestly love if Samoa came in, and you know by the title of the video and the way I just opened it, that I am giving Samoa little to no chance to win this Pacific Championship. This Saturday night, they have to go and play Australia to kick it off, and then next week they're going to have to take on the Kiwis, and unfortunately for them, I just don't think they've got the cattle. Now look, last year's World Cup to this side, there are some improvements, but overall I just think they're lacking a bit too much, and they're going to need something special if they are to upset the Aussies. They're missing a bunch of forwards. They're missing Suoli'i, but in my opinion, most importantly, they're missing Jerome Luai. And I know a lot of Luai haters are loving life right now because obviously Penrith's incredible comeback, Nathan Cleary's incredible performance started when Jerome Luai went off the field. And look, if you're going to take that as the reason why he's not a good player, then you, sir, are off your head. But I think it's fair to say that if without Luai in that World Cup last year, Samoa ain't making it into the final. In fact, they're not making it past the quarterfinal against Tonga. I mean, he was in the number 6 jersey, but he was their halfback. He got, 12 try assists in the 7 games he played. He was the player of the tournament. He dragged that Samoan team to the final, and outside of a few guys like Stephen Crichton, no one really in that Samoan team stood up the way Jerome Luai did. That's why Jerome Luai is a top-tier half, in my opinion. I mean, the guy's just won 3 competitions in a row. His win percentage is above 85%. That's not a fluke, but I think what's most impressive is what he did for Samoa last year. And I'd love to see Samoa go on another run, but I just don't think they can without him. Now, there are some exciting parts of this Samoan team. Obviously, the young guy at the back, I'm going to butcher this name, but Falogo, he was the absolute gun for the Melbourne Storm when they played the Brisbane Broncos, when they played those rested teams in the final round. Murray Taulagi, Isaac Tungo, and Brian To'o, they're 3 really good backs. I mean, Brian To'o, he would literally slide straight into that Australian team. Young Tonamapia, I don't know if he's an improvement over Tim Lafai, especially with no Jerome Luai, but maybe on a one-off game he can defend Katoni Staggs or Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow. But Stephen Crichton, number 6. Now, that's an interesting selection, but honestly, it's one I would have gone with. This Samoan team, especially with Karl Olapu out, are very, very light on halves for that matter. So I would have thrown Stephen Crichton in the halves as well. Crichton, he just needs his hands on that footy as much as possible. We've seen how good he is, and in my opinion, he was probably going to be the fullback, and you're going to have Karl Olapu at 5'8", but throw Crichton under number 6, and he's just going to run, be a strong running 5'8". I think he'll play similar to the way Jack Whiten played for the Canberra Raiders. His kicking game, that'll be an interesting question. Obviously, he's a gun goal kicker, but it'll be interesting to see how he can kick in the general field of play. Tijan Arce, I actually think that's an improvement over Anthony Milford. I thought he had a really, really good year for the Parramatta Eels, especially when Brown was out. And even when Moses was out and he went into that number 6 and Brown went in the number 7 jersey, I thought he was a very, very good find for the Parramatta Eels this year. And I think even Brad Arthur knew he played so well, he has to be in that side somewhere. Now, the forward pack, unfortunately, they are missing a few big boppers who weren't there last year. Josh Alloway, Martin Tapau. In saying that, though, you got Stefano Uchikamanu, who one of the best forwards up and coming. He played Origin. Gordon Chen Kum Tong, the best up and coming dummy half in the competition. Junior Bolo, he's the captain. We saw what he did last year. One of the best props in the competition. Also played Origin. Luciano Lua. Connolly Lemu, who is an absolute standout for the Dolphins. Keenan Palacio, a good player in that grand final for the Brisbane Broncos. And on the bench, Spencer Leniu, best prop off the bench in the game. Terrell May, he was a freak. Heelan Lukey and Ronald Volkman, the best player in New South Wales Cup last year, coming off the bench. So there is a bit to get excited about for this Samoan team, but it's not about who they've got, besides, missing Jerome Luai. It's about who they have to play against, and they've got to play up against a team of James Tedesco, Dylan Edwards, Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow, Cameron Munster, DCE, Payne Haas, Cameron Murray, Isaiah Yeo, Paddy Carrigan, Ruben Cotter. I can't even say the names. Not even the GOAT, Jakey Javojevic, could make this Australian team. Unfortunately for Samoa, I do think they've been chucked in the deep end. I think that this side could be very competitive against Tonga, and I think it could be very competitive against England. Australia and New Zealand. Australia, I've just read their team out, and guess what? New Zealand's team, I think it's actually definitely going to push Australia. I mean, that forward pack is going to be insane. We've just talked about how Fisher Harris and Leota are probably the best 1-2 prop combination in the comp since that grand final. On top of that, you got Joseph Tarpany, Jadaria Hargraves, and Nelson Asafa Solomon are all ready to come back into that team. So, look, if this Samoan team, look, I actually think he's that good. And he proved it at the World Cup last year. If Samoa had Jerome Luai, I would give them more of a chance than no chance. But who they're playing, because even if they somehow beat Australia, which would be as incredible as when Tonga beat them, they also have to beat New Zealand. And unfortunately, just with that side, it's impossible. Look, I do think the forward pack can match them. In saying that, they're just missing a lot. They are missing a lot, I think it's fair to say. There's a few injuries, and the Australian team too. But look, the Australian team, they've got about 6 squads they could pick, and they're probably still going to be favourites at an event like the World Cup. So it's going to be interesting, the Pacific Championships. I do feel bad for Samoa. They're riding an incredible wave after what they did last year, and I would really love them to do well, to be honest. But just with the cattle they're missing, with the cattle they got, but more importantly, the cattle they're going to have to come up against, it's just hard to see them replicating what they did last year, because there's no Lebanon, there's no Italy, there's no Azuri, there's no Germany this time. You know, I know they beat Tonga and they got that massive redemption win over England, but this time they're going to have to play Australia and New Zealand, which, let's face it, was the real final of last year's World Cup, because that was an incredible semi, and they got a worse team this time around, I think it's fair to say, than last year. I still do think there's some improvements there, but on the whole, you take out any team's best player. I don't know whether it's club, origin, or international, even if it's bloody Rezzies or the under-12s running around at your local footy oval. You take the best player out of any team. I mean, Jerome Luai, best player of the World Cup, you're going to take him out of your side, and it's not going to be the same. I am very excited to see how far Logo goes. Sorry, I cannot pronounce his name. Please let me know how to spell it out. Sound it out, in that comment section down below. Stephen Crine at 6 is going to be very interesting. Like I said, the forward pack, I actually think it can match either Australia or New Zealand, but it's going to have to go perfectly for them. If they have a few errors, turn the ball over, don't kick well, then Australia could have a field day with them, because they're going to have a simple game plan, Australia. Beat him through the forwards. DCE is going to kick him to death, and Cameron Munster is just going to do what Cameron Munster does. I doubt James Tedesco will overplay his hand. New Zealand, it'll be interesting to see how they play, whether they change it up and go Chance at the back with Manu at centres, but we'll have to wait and find out. But Samoa, I'm very sorry. I'd love you to prove me wrong, and hey, you have before, but I'm giving them no chance in this Pacific Championship. But guys, let me know in the comment section down below. Am I just hating on the Usos because Jimmy stabbed Jay in the back? Do you genuinely think Samoa are a real shot at this Pacific Championship? Do you think I'm an idiot? Let me know in that comment section down below. Smash that like button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.